Welcome to the Globe Economy podcast. My name is Tuan, the founder of Globes Media, and this podcast is where I sit down with the founders, creators, and the women shaping the future of beauty and culture. We talk presence, identity, story, and the systems behind influence. If you're building a brand, a body of work, or a world of your own, then you're in the right place. Welcome to the Globe Economy. Welcome to the Globe Economy podcast. My name is Tuan, and I'm seated here today with Leesa.
Yes.
And Leesa's someone who's shared a fair bit about her story online, particularly around experience around a relationship that started off that felt a little bit like a fairy tale, but then evolved into something that felt confusing, controlling, and something that became difficult to name. One thing I want to talk about and dive into here is not necessarily just the pain of the story, but also how did it shape and how did it sharpen her intuition, her standards, her voice, her relationship to trust, as well as what does that look like into the next version of herself once she refuses to shrink back from what is real, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes the glow up isn't necessarily just what looks soft or what looks shiny on the surface. Other times, the glow up looks like becoming absolutely undeniable and being refused to be distorted. So, Leesa, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited. Obviously, I've seen some of my girlfriends come and have a chat with you. So I'm really looking forward to sort of unpacking, I guess, the things that have helped shape me while I'm going through this process.
Amazing. So, before you went public and shared your experience and your stories, what was a version of you that looked like in your mind before all of that?
Yeah, it's hard to I just feel like we are forever evolving through different chapters of
Yeah.
ourselves. And so I guess when we think about that, the person that I was, I guess, before this relationship that I talk about quite often, I was quite happy with where I was. I'd done quite a lot of work on myself. I've been involved in the mental health space probably for the last 20 years. And so I've learned some really good ways of taking care of my mental health and doing the work continuously to grow and better myself. So I had felt like I was in a really good place. And then as this relationship progressed, I started to have all of those beautiful things that I really liked about myself chipped away. And I started to really second guess who I was. And that became extremely confusing, obviously.
Yeah.
And I guess, I don't know, when I think about that period, I often feel as though like I was burnt to the ground. That like everything that I had built up had basically been taken away from me.
Okay.
And then I guess like now that I have hindsight to look back, I almost I kind of envision it when I'm thinking about it as almost like a phoenix in that that almost, it's hard to say, but like that almost had to happen. For me to shed away the last remaining things that I wasn't letting go of internally, for me to now be able to move forward, refusing to accept a lot of those things ever again and step into that next chapter and that next version of myself.
And I think I like that Phoenix analogy of the reinvention, because a lot of times it's only in hindsight that you can look back and see with clarity
For
of
sure.
all the things that had to evolve. You had to evolve in yourself to then make those realizations.
Yeah.
But kind of taking me back to the beginning, what felt promising, or what actually felt promising at the beginning of that dynamic?
Yeah. So obviously now I can label what I'd been through as coercive control or narcissistic abuse, a mixture of all of those things. But it's really common at the start of a relationship like that for that person to enter your life, almost as if presenting themselves as a Prince Charming, a version of like everything you've ever wanted. And so initially I had a little bit of a wall up, obviously because I was not expecting that. And I can remember sort of saying to myself, like, Leesa, this is, this person's giving you everything you've ever wanted. Like, why are you like, why are you hesitant? Which
Mm.
obviously in hindsight, it was my intuition.
Mhm.
Like, and
Yeah.
I quietened my
Yeah.
intuition down, which is another like really strong lesson that I learned throughout this, is that if
Mm.
something feels not right inside,
Mm.
that is something that I should listen to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so like when I think about the start of that relationship, it was a lot of like, we hear the terms like love bombing. So it was, I've never met anyone like you before. I can't believe you're interested in me. You light
Mm.
up the
Mm.
room when you walk into it. Like all of these really beautiful things that were, everything I'd ever wanted to hear from someone. And he moved the relationship very quickly.
Mm.
He was always wanting to be around, very available. There's another term I learned about called future faking, where someone
Mm.
paints a picture of, he would talk about what we would be like as a family. And so
Mm.
it's like there's like hooks going in internally for me about this person's actually thinking about a future with me.
Mm.
And I hadn't had someone talk like that in quite a long time. And so it
Mm.
was, I was so hopeful, and I felt more loved
Mm.
in a very short period of time than I had for a long time. And so that felt really nice.
Mm.
Um, and I think what's quite confusing about relationships like this is that the bad, the control, the coercion, it comes on slowly and it comes on subtly over time, and
Mm.
it's mixed in with
Mm.
really good times.
Mm.
So it can be really hard to unpack within internally and within your mind that
Mm.
actually what you're experiencing is abuse. And it took
Mm.
me a really long time to actually name it that.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting that you say that. A lot of the times the signals, they don't, it's not obvious. They kind of come,
Yeah.
they kind of drip fed slowly and it mixes with the good stuff. But you said straight from the beginning, the body always
Yeah.
knows first.
Yeah,
The
that's
intuition always
right.
knows first.
Yeah.
And I think there's a beautiful intelligence to what we actually deep down in our gut knows, right? I
Yeah.
think taking back to that, um, when did you when did you first when did you first felt that your mind actually started catching up with your body? What was that moment?
Yeah. I feel like it's hard to pinpoint like an exact time, but there
Yeah.
was a couple of like outrageous fights that we'd had. Like I'm trying to think like what they were, but like it would be like nothing had happened and it would explode into something. Oh, a really good example. So I have a lot of male friends. I catch up with them regularly. I check in on their mental health, and that's something that I really care about doing. And regardless, they're my friends. I don't see friendship as gendered. We had been seeing each other for like 3 weeks. Like I
Mhm.
barely knew this person still. And I had put up some stories having gone for a walk with a couple of mates. And that turned into like, fair enough, if that makes you uncomfortable, then we have a conversation about it like
Mm,
grown
yeah.
adults.
Yeah.
That turned into like this one of the biggest fights I think I've ever had with a partner, a person I was dating in my life. Like,
Yeah.
and it was like, oh, it would turn into something that was like, well, I just can't be with someone who's like that. That's not, he would start to define what was normal. And so I
Mm.
think, like, and again, that was like 3 weeks in and I stayed for 6 months. So, like, even though like that happened, and I think in my brain, I was like, okay, this isn't right.
Mm.
Still, then the recovery from that
Mhm.
was, huge.
Yeah.
And it was like, I felt fine again. You make up and things go well for a few weeks. And so in that time, I would, I guess my brain would start to sort of forget about that bad and
Mm.
focus on the good. And it
Mm.
went in cycles like this, like the abuse cycle went round and round the entire time that the relationship was occurring.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I take it back when you actually started sharing your experience in public
Yeah.
and women started reaching out to you?
Yeah.
Um, what did that do to your sense of reality when that started happening?
Yeah. It was incredibly validating.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like it happened in different stages. So when we were still together, I did have someone reach out and sort of warn me specifically about him.
Mm,
I had somebody also send me screenshots of
mm,
which was like evidence of what this person had done to others.
mm,
And so that was very confronting.
mhm.
Um, and still I stayed. Um, because it got, washed away with words, or
Yeah.
like this person was just out to get me, or, like they think that I was cheating or whatever it was. So that part was confronting. But when I had actually started moving towards that, like, no, like this needs to end and I need to get out.
Mm,
Um, and I started sharing, having people who had experienced the same things that I had made it so much easier to continue to leave. And there's like the validation of, other victim survivors who've experienced the things that make you start to wonder if you're losing your mind. And
mm,
then there's the additional, like the savior that I had, that so many of those women had experiences with the same man. So
mm,
that
mm,
made it very easy for me to be like, this wasn't about you. This literally, like, it's nothing you've done. It's not, he hasn't done it because it's you. This is this person's behavioral pattern, and you were just the next person.
mm.
So that was, I think that's what made the healing process a lot easier,
Yep,
easier
yep,
asterisks
yep,
for me than maybe if I hadn't had that support. Like
yep.
the support and that connection was so important in
Yeah,
that time afterwards, and for the last 12 months.
yeah. You said that was very validating, right?
Yeah.
To have it reflected back on you, the same experience with the same person that they all
Mm.
experienced. Did it felt validating at the beginning, necessarily, or
Yeah.
there was a different sort of emotion
I'm
there
trying to
initially?
think. I think there was probably like a period where I was like, oh, like I definitely wasn't special. Like, and so that was probably obviously quite hurtful to
Mm.
realize that like it wasn't actually me. So there's kind of like two
Yeah,
sides to it.
yeah,
And there was a period of like a few months where it was like every week someone new would find me. Like I
right.
wasn't looking,
Mm,
and I'm grateful that these people reached out, like
mm,
these women who'd also been through some horrific things. I'm so grateful that they reached out. And even now, I share a lot on my social media about what I've been through, and I try to educate in a way,
mm.
like things that I didn't recognize or ways you can get help. And so that does bring people to me. And I feel really grateful that people feel like that I'm a safe space and they can share with me.
Yeah,
Because there's just so much healing and so much power in the ability to resonate to somebody else's lived experience story.
yeah,
And we see this in, mental illness, mental health, and of course, now that I'm in the domestic family violence space, so much so there as well, because your perception of reality gets distorted.
yeah,
So yeah, very grateful
yeah.
for that
Kind,
part.
kind of like you said, the first few weeks, right, when these women started to reach out,
Mm-hmm.
and you had that realization, wow, okay, maybe I wasn't as special. If you go just a little bit beforehand,
Mm-hmm.
that first moment when the first woman reached out to you,
Mm-hmm.
was there a moment of kind of almost wanting to protect the story, that you were still sort of like playing your head, or?
I think, like, if I think about the times where, like, that I mentioned before, where this person reached out whilst I was still in the relationship, and then when
Mm,
the screenshots got sent,
mm,
I probably I really didn't want to believe it.
mm,
And this person had painted themselves as the victim in every story, so it made it more believable when I shared, or hey, somebody has sent me these screenshots.
mm,
The story that was whisked up to discredit that, um was, I wanted to believe it,
mm,
because
mm.
I wanted what we had to be real.
Yeah.
And so I feel as though probably in that period I I abandoned myself a little bit.
Yep.
But at the same time, I have so much um, love for that version of me, and so much kindness for
Yeah.
her, because I was just trying to deal with a situation that I'd never been in before,
Mm.
for the very first time with the tools that I had.
Yeah.
And at that time, I wasn't even able to recognize it for what it really was.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's easy in hindsight to look back and say, oh, I
Yeah.
wish I had just left. I should have left 3 weeks in when
Yeah.
this happened,
Yeah.
or 6 weeks in when this happened, or, when I got the message or when I got the screenshots. But,
Yeah.
it's easy to say that now, but
Mm.
when you're in it and you
Mm.
can't really see it for what it is,
Yeah.
we just do the best that we can.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned like the tools available, and
Mm.
even in hindsight, now having the language to even name your felt experience is
Yeah.
the validating part.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, you know, Instagram, TikTok
Mm-hmm.
tools, frameworks, psychology, but it
Mm-hmm.
takes sometimes living through that. They have such a sharp contrast,
Yeah.
and the lesson becomes so deeply embedded
Mm-hmm.
that it becomes real and something that you can do with it. I
Yeah.
remember having a chat with Cozzy when she was on
Yeah.
the pod a few weeks back about what you said, right? The body always knows first, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the cost of not abandoning yourself becomes very,
Yeah.
very high when we, because humans, we're very, very smart, intelligent, and
Yeah.
we want to believe and hope. Someone once said, hope dies last. And the
Yeah.
hill that hope dies on is a very, very strong one. But if we, I think a lot of times there's also underneath that a bit of control, right? Because underneath
Mm-hmm.
it, the body knows. And when we surrender to the truth isn't always soft or pleasant. It's hurtful, but it's the thing that ultimately liberates you into the next version.
Yeah. Yeah. And like for me, when I think about, what I've been through,
Yeah.
never in my life will I say I'm grateful for what he did, but like I would not be the person that I am today
Mm,
if I hadn't been through that experience. And
mm,
I love the person that I am sitting here today.
mm,
And it has given me the opportunity to meet so many wonderful women predominantly, and so many wonderful people, and I've had opportunities that I wouldn't have had otherwise.
mm.
And it has been this catalyst for literally what I feel like is coming home to myself,
Yeah.
and the reason that I'm actually like here in this life. Like I have been probably exploring my spirituality a lot more, especially
Yeah.
over the last 12 months. And my belief is that your soul returns to earth. It chooses when to return to earth.
Yeah.
And I honestly, truly believe that I came here at this time to be part of this change, to be part of this movement. And, I'm not here to necessarily change the world, but if I can make a positive impact on my community around me in some small way, then I will feel like I have been successful in this life.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel like from your unique experiences that shaped you, it's kind of like you said, we're only one person. We're not going to be able to
Yeah.
shape the universal collective, but there is whatever shape that adversities that shaped you, there's
Yeah.
a there's a part of the world
Yeah.
that can light up and see that part.
Yeah, I
And
think
that becomes
so.
your uh,
Yeah.
purpose and calling, so to speak.
100%. And like, I've been involved in the mental health space since I was 18,
Yeah.
so 20 years.
Mm,
After my diagnoses with depression, anxiety, and non suicidal self injury. And I've used my voice over the last 20 years
mm,
for that. So I feel like when I think, like what I was saying, like, I have the skill to be able to use my voice, and not everybody can do that,
yeah.
or it's also not safe for everybody to do that either, or part of their journey. But I feel like I have this voice,
Mm,
and I want to be able to use it
mm.
to help.
Do you feel like, that is a very interesting point because everyone has different comfort levels, or even
Yeah.
the feelings of being able to fully step into the freedom to express themselves.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm hearing from you is you found yourself in this really unique position where you can be like this vessel,
Yeah.
and people can see that and feel reflected. As in, I might not feel, let's say, may or may not feel free or expressive to do so, and someone might feel more or less safe, but they can see through you, wow, you've
Yeah.
almost given permission for them to think, hey, even
Yeah.
if it's not maybe the time or the season or the phase of my life where I can step into that myself, I
Mhm.
see that is within their own possibility because she allowed that to happen, and she, shared
Yeah.
her story. Would
Yeah.
that kind of like that?
Often, like,
Yeah.
within the mental health space as well, we say that, like, by you, say if I'm concerned about your mental health,
Mm,
by me creating a conversation with you about it,
mm,
or like talking about my own experiences, sometimes we give the other person permission
yeah.
to speak,
Mm,
because they may not have felt like they could have otherwise.
mm,
So you just never know the ripple effect
yeah.
of what just being authentically yourself can have. And
Yeah.
by using your voice in whatever capacity that is, it might
Mm,
mean that you're one-on-one catching up with a friend to check in on
mm,
them. It might be
mm,
that you're at a press conference or at a
mm,
rally, or
mm.
there's a million different things
Yeah.
in between
Yeah.
those. But
Yeah.
I think just by trying to show up and be a good human
Yeah.
as well, like leading from kindness, for whatever that path is for
Mm,
you, I
mm,
think brings us back to our authentic self and our like being in alignment,
mm-hmm.
which is something that especially like the last few months for me, I've felt very much in alignment with my life's purpose, I suppose,
Yeah. Yeah.
which feels really nice.
Yeah. And that authenticity you said, right? The beautiful thing is when we're kind of multi-dimensionalizing it,
Mm,
right? Because it looks different for everybody.
100%.
And I think the beauty of conversations like these ones is that sometimes online people get a bit confused about what authenticity becomes. It just becomes this buzzword that
Yeah.
becomes almost like wellness language, branded and has a certain aesthetic, which is
Mm-hmm.
cool, which is nice. But then it's like giving it a soul because that expression for everybody looks different for that
A
same truth,
hundred
you know?
percent. And I think we like authentically we grow and we change and evolve.
Yeah.
Like this time last year I was getting ready to stand on stage at an ICN show. So like I also like I think that we can be authentic but ever changing.
Yeah.
Like the last thing I ever want to be told is that I have to niche, because I'm not niche. Like I do many things all
Yeah.
the time. I wear
Yeah.
75 hats and I love it that way. Like just because I'm involved in domestic family violence doesn't mean that that is everything. I'm on a running journey. I've done bodybuilding in the past. I'm a friend. I'm a daughter. I work in community engagement. Like you don't just have to, being authentic doesn't have to mean that
Mm.
you're pigeonholed
Yeah.
either.
Yeah.
It's whatever is right for you. And
Mm.
I think if we aren't growing and changing, then
Yeah.
are we becoming stagnant?
Mm.
Like for me to be authentic, I
Yeah.
need to be growing and I need to be changing and I need to be setting myself ridiculous goals. But that's
Yeah.
just me.
And I think that's an interesting thing because there's the combination. You mentioned that sometimes things happen to us. Those are catalysts which
Yeah.
spur a certain change that might not expose the depth or the range of what your human essence is capable of. And then there's the conscious effort of, hey, this is my unique human expression. And it's choosing, learning when the idea of niching
Yeah.
is good, but how it can also limit you. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like what catalyzed me, what experiences, what are the things that make me uniquely Leesa, uniquely Tuan,
Yeah.
and then you're out there, right? So there's those two things: the catalysts that happen to us, the things that happen to us that we grow from, and the
Hmm.
things which we consciously understand, cultivate, discard, move
Yeah.
forward. You know, kind of moving forward. What is the next version of Leesa no longer negotiate with?
Or her intuition is probably my first answer to that.
Yeah.
I think that was probably one of the biggest lessons that came out of um, that relationship and that part of my life.
Mm,
Because as I mentioned before, like there were numerous times where the body knew, my intuition knew. And I think it's also like Yeah, especially as women,
Mm,
over my life, I have learned, we learn to be people pleasers very early on and to put
mm,
other people um, ahead of us.
yeah,
To make sure that we are kind and we're selfless and we're giving all the time. And I think that's really lovely, but
yeah,
not to the detriment of ourselves. And I can think of my friend Bianca, who you might know as well. Like, she laughs at me often because she'll say, "Or, do you want to come shopping with me, to Zara at Burnside on Saturday?" And I'll just be like, "No." Like, I just don't like. That's not how I want to spend my time or my energy on Saturday. And
yeah,
like, it in a kind way, of course. But she has seen me sort of go through that process, and she knows that like if I don't want to do something
yeah,
now, I feel like I can say no.
mm,
Whereas at times throughout my life, I've probably felt as though like I've had to do something because someone has asked, or I've had to do something because that's what they want to do. So
mm,
I think I have become, and it's not that like I would never negotiate or like, compromise in any way. But I think I've just gotten better at being able to um, know what how I want to spend my time and my energy, and being probably a little more guarded around that, and valuing myself and my time and my energy more than I probably have. So
mm,
the future version and the current and the future version of me is quite uh strong
yeah.
in that area.
Yeah. In regards to we were talking earlier about your relationship to trust has also
Yeah.
changed, right? Um, in regards to relationships, connections, what does what does someone have to do now in order to even to have connection or closeness to you after
Yeah.
everything you've gone through?
That's an excellent question. And I've not really dated a whole lot since that relationship started. I've tried, but it's hard. It's hard out there. So it'd be interesting to see how that might show up.
Mm, yeah.
And I don't believe you have to be fully healed to go into a new relationship. I think relationships you learn and grow along the way together. For me, with trust, the way that I have always viewed trust is that for me, trust doesn't need to be earned, it should be given. But once that is broken, for me, it's almost impossible for
Mm,
that to be mended again. So I think, though, like, if I was meeting somebody new, them having consistency is a huge thing, and doing
mm,
what they say they're going to do.
mm,
So, like, if you
mm,
say, we're going to spend time together on Sunday afternoon, and then
mm,
I get a message on Sunday morning saying, like, that's not happening. Like, so if someone's like letting me down, it's another word and it's not coming to my brain.
mm,
Um, so those kind of things I think will play a role in trust as such. But like I said, for me with trust, I think you can't. For me, you can't come into something without trust.
yeah.
There's no relationship without trust, but it's how somebody shows up.
Yeah.
Like consistency is very, very important for me.
Mm, mm. I think one of those things, something you said about you don't need to be fully healed in order to move through
Hmm.
it. I think one of the easy things after like a dynamic or relationship like that would be, um, because it is very difficult to. There's one thing I think trust is earned and not given, but what I like that you said is that trust is given first, and that still shows what for me, when you think of, say, courage to move through and to build from, I think one ways of actually the healing process is still having your heart remain open and still
Mm.
trusting,
Hmm.
but then having that clarity boundary there. Because
Yeah.
it's like now the intuition understands the talking,
Yeah.
right? Okay, I give trust because it's like what you said. How you like relationships need trust, so then you need to like
Yeah.
give it, right? But then once it's broken, right, then that becomes clear, and sometimes it takes a big catalyst to
Yeah.
for it to the lesson to become embedded.
Yeah. And I think like awareness
Yeah,
and the ability to communicate are also very important because,
yeah,
you know, we can't expect the person we're dating or our future partner to be a mind reader.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
for you, maybe being 20 minutes late all the time is fine, but that's not fine for me. But you don't know that. So I need to have the awareness that that is something that bothers me, first of all.
Yeah.
And then the ability to communicate that with you. So now if I've told you that's a problem and it continues, then maybe we're not in alignment to be dating.
Yeah.
Being late is really a pet peeve of mine. So like, anyone's watching this and they date me, please don't be late.
Love that.
But yeah, I think awareness, self-awareness is very, very important as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. This has been a really, really, really great conversation.
Thank you.
Leesa, if for anyone who wants to follow along with your journey, your story and everything that you share and everything you continue to share online, how and where can they find you?
The easiest place is probably on Instagram. My handle is a nightmare, but it's a girl in the ocean, but there's a underscore in between every single word.
Yeah.
I used to live in Indonesia, so I had to market myself for my job. So that's where the handle came from.
Yeah.
Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense anymore. I mean, I do love the beach, but that's definitely the easiest place, a girl in the ocean.
Yeah. Amazing. We'll drop that in the show notes so you guys can find her. This has been a great conversation.
Thank you. I feel like I could stay for another hour and chat if I didn't have to head off to work.
Yeah, all the things. I know you're short on time, but I think we
Yeah.
covered a lot of beautiful things in the conversation. And it was great having you on.
Thank you so much for having this conversation with me. I'm really excited.
Amazing. This is Tuan, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Hey, thanks for tuning into the Glow Up Economy podcast. If this conversation landed with you, then share it with someone in your world who's building their own glow. And if you want to explore these stories deeper, then you can find the full features and the spotlights at theglowupeconomy.com underneath the spotlight, the magazines, and the podcast show notes. My name is Tuan, and this is the architecture of modern feminine power. And we'll see you in the next episode.